Alright. You hear me alright there?
Yeah.
Right, folks, I'm here today, suppose, and we call this here today, it's the 107th anniversary of the proclamation and the founding of nationhood in this island. And it's also the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement. And on midnight, the 5th of December there passed, was the end of the Anglo-Irish Treaty, 99-year leases pursuant to Article 17 of the Irish Free State Constitution. And they're renegotiating terms. You hear things going on there in the background. So back on the 17th of September 2021, the Irish President rejected the invitation to the 100-year partition celebration in St Patrick's Cathedral in Armagh on the grounds that the initial invitation was addressed to the President of the Republic of Ireland, to which his response was, "I am the President of Ireland, Inuk Duron na Hern," in the Irish tongue. And he stated, and I quote, "It isn't a neutral statement politically. What you do is you take out all the facts." And we have the facts here with us today. And those are the things that you don't dispute. And then you have all the interpretations. And then you can do all the rhetorical flourishes on it. And let's be clear as well, that in relation, when you come to things, that's why doing commemorations is difficult. Because let's say, for example, the Good Friday Agreement. We all want to work. But the treaty, the Anglo-Irish Treaty, for example, that will arise on the next phase of what we are doing, is very different to the Good Friday Agreement. You enter into it with negotiations and you come out of it with agreement. You make commitments, and that is a sovereign subtle. In the other one, you have to look at all the context of how a free people to where they would consent, and you have to deal with it whether you like it or not. The issue of coercion. So that's why may I express my gratitude for the people in Ireland, éiRe, who have been saying that they understand and that I was taking a complex decision and that they trust in me. He also stated on the 5th of May 2021 that things happened in the past and that they, being the people, us, we the people of éiRe, must recall their factual setting as much as possible. Well, Michael D. Higgins, Inuk Duron na Hern, we have done as you implored, and we have recalled our factual settings. And I have a declaration that we have written out, and we're going to read it out here today. Will you bear with me? Declaration of Rights. Let it be known by all concerned, interested, affected parties, that the following declaration is made by and for the sovereign people of éiRe. We, the people of éiRe, declare and affirm, in the absence of a legitimate Oireachtas, parliamentary democracy or lawful governance, following the constitutional repugnant and inconsistent subjugation, we, the people of éiRe, to the dictates of an unaccountable government in accordance with a diabolic, fraudulent and genocidal agenda, wherefore, given that since the enactment of the European Communities Act 1972 in éiRe, the Oireachtas has committed the following fundamental constitutional wrongdoings against we, the people of éiRe. 1. Unconstitutionally ceded Irish independence and sovereignty to the European Union, a foreign, poor, odious and diabolic power. 2. Permanently denied we, the people of éiRe, the right to bear arms, be presumed innocent until proven guilty, to exercise their conscience and to remain silent. 3. Emphatically failed criminals to keep criminals off Irish streets and to protect an unlawful disarmed populace from an epidemic of violent crime. 4. Disgracefully enable private banking, pharmaceutical, technocrats and non-governmental organisations' interests to dictate government policy, monopolise industries and control natural resources. 5. Dishonourably allowed those private banking interests to perpetrate institutionalised signature forgery and banking fraud on an industrial scale. 6. Facilitated the enforcement of millions of fraudulent mortgages, possession claims by forbidding a complicit judiciary from ruling fraud against any Irish banks or making any serving TDs bankrupt and charged with crimes of malfeasance in public office. 7. Caused frequently brutal and violent unlawful evictions of thousands of Irish families and people over the last 2 decades alone, often with the assistance of An Garda Síochána, who derive their authority from the Irish Constitution of éiRe, to protect life, protect property, preserve the peace, and to ensure the dignity of the individual is assured. 8. Constructed total surveillance statelets, i.e. the Republic of Ireland Act 1948 and the Northern Ireland Act 1921 and the Northern Ireland Act of 1998, better known today as the Good Friday Agreement, and now the renegotiation of the Anglo-Irish Treaty 1922, which ended its 99-year land leasehold as pursuant to Article 11 of the Irish Free State Constitution 1922. The treaty ran its course of completion midnight 5th December 2022. It has now been replaced with the Windsor Framework. This is a new international treaty, prevents the enjoyment of a private family life. 9. Prospected and licensed the poisoning of the air, waterways and food supplies, as well as caused destruction of the farming, fishing and manufacturing industries in éiRe. 10. Conspired with the foreign, odious and diabolic powers to implement the genocidal United Nations Agenda 21 and 2030 at a local government level under the guise of sustainable development goals. 11. Engaged in waging illegal and unlawful wars against other nations of sovereign people, causing millions of men, women and children to die through no fault of their own. 12. Decreed unlawful house arrests of every Irish national in éiRe, imposing draconian regulations which resulted in untold thousands of deaths, the destruction of the national economy and the bankruptcy of vast number of businesses. 13. Enacted the treasonous Coronavirus Act of 2020, which purported to suspend the lawful rights guaranteed and asserted to every Irish man, woman and child via Article 40 through to 44 of the Irish constitutional law. Whilst legalising mandatory vaccination and the falsification of death certificates, in addition to suspending the democratic right to remove the government from office. This was all done via emergency time of war legislation, which is ultra vires, therefore illegal and unlawful, not in harmony nor consistent with the original provisions of the National Constitution of éiRe. Ambanrock 1937, original Clo Gaelic, Irish script and orthography. Restoration of justice and lasting peace guaranteed and protection. It lies within Ambanrock 1937. For the purposes of restoring the rights and protections guaranteed by Irish constitutional law, Ambanrock 1937, it is hereby reaffirmed that the sovereignty is naturally vested in we, the people of éiRe, who are naturally endowed when born with the following inalienable, indefeasible, and imprescriptible and sovereign rights, which no government in or of éiRe, the EU and or the UK, has the authority to suspend or impede upon Irish laws, Irish ways and Irish cultural heritage. One, the right to self-determination, both as individuals and collectively. Two, the right to be presumed innocent of any crime or civil offence until proven guilty before a jury of our peers. Three, the right to defend ourselves, our family, property, community from unlawful acts of aggression and theft with all reasonable force necessary. The right to exercise our conscience and remain silent whenever appropriate. 5. The right to a private family life, freedom of expression and religious freedom beliefs. 6. The right to live freely in an unpolluted environment with unrestricted access to clean air, water and food supplies. 7. The right to free assembly, to campaign against injustices of all natures and descriptions which do not benefit the Irish nation. 8. The right to come and go as we please without unwarranted intrusion, harassment, surveillance or delay. 9. The right to declare unconstitutional law or a treaty unlawful by a unanimous grand jury of our peers. 10. The right to dispose criminal governments by any lawful means necessary, including the unilateral declaration of a properly convened constitutional law grand jury. 11. The rights of autonomy in the conduct of every aspect of our lives within the boundaries set out by Irish constitutional law, as restored by the lawful execution of this declaration. 12. The right to contract and conduct any lawful business and to trade in any lawful currency of our choosing without government interference, licensing or taxation. 13. The right to seek a grand jury order that An Garda Síochána and the Irish Defence Forces to detain and charge criminal government officers for diabolic, unjustified crimes against Irish people. 14. The right to claim lawful excuse in performing or refusing to perform any act or deed our conscience dictates we must, even if we are subsequently held to be wrong and such a course of action is prohibited by law. 15. The right to convene Irish constitutional courts of public record. Courts where every case, both civil, criminal, is heard and decided by constitutional law. A jury of our peers upon merits. 16. The right to seek a grand jury nullification of international agreements, including but not limited to the nullification of éiRe becoming a signatory to the UN United Nations Agendas 2021 and 2030. This declaration has been drafted in the genuine hope that everybody from wheresoever they come will one day soon be able to live their lives on these shores and everywhere else according to the ancient universal maxim of common law. Cause no wrong, harm, injury, loss or death, or defend yourself, your family, your community, your property with all reasonable force necessary from all those who seek to do you wrong. Solemn declaration. We, the people of éiRe, solemnly swear that we have the lawful excuse to take this course of action in defence of the rights and the protection of Irish constitutional law governing the entire island of éiRe. Having witnessed our beloved homeland being subjected to the most treasonous governmental crimes against the Irish people, it is therefore with sound minds and sincere hearts that we are compelled to declare we revoke our consent, whether implied, expressed to be governed under the laws of any Oireachtas which made the government unaccountable to the people, and in doing so forfeited the legitimacy under the full canopy of law and the fundamental law in éiRe, Ambon Rock 1937. Original version. And we will be seeking a unilateral declaration of a constitutional law grand jury that Ambon Rock 1937 must henceforth be held to be the law of our homeland, which we will do our utmost to uphold, apply and preserve the national constitution of éiRe. Will be presented to a constitutional law grand jury by initiating signatories to the Declaration of Rights and evoking Irish Declaration of Independence and the Democratic Programme, January 21st, 1919, as well as the founding document of nationhood and the Irish Republic. The Irish Proclamation, 24th of April 1916, 107 years ago to this very day, at the very earliest opportunity. In the event that it is declared that the declaration is sufficient for the purposes of restoring the full canopy and rule of law, the Irish National Constitution of éiRe, where all the actions of both men and states will be referred, nullifying the illegitimate government and the Oireachtas in éiRe for abject breaches of Article 1 and Article 2 of the Declaration of Rights 1688 and the Bill of Rights 1689. Inalienable rights are the inherent, sovereign, natural, imprescriptible rights that existed before the creation of state, and which, being antecedent and above the state, can never be taken away, diminished, altered, or levied by the state, except by due process of law. Nor can any inalienable right be fundamentally removed or wavered by contract, whether by non-disclosure, which is fraud and unenforceable in law, or knowingly by sufferance, which is contrary to the spirit of law and prejudicial to sovereignty. The destiny of the Irish Constitution depends not only on the nobility of its contents, but on the watchfulness of a free Irish independent and sovereign people. It is time, people, to stand up and fight for what is right, to keep éiRe free, sovereign and independent, neutral from all actions of war and terror. Please spread this message far and wide. The antidote to our problems lies within our midst. Ambon Rock to Joe. Gormia me agat.